That version of you isn't gone. It needs to be reclaimed. I remember sitting in my car one night, engine off, hands on the wheel, long after I'd parked, no phone or music, just silence. And I caught myself doing something I hadn't done in a while. I was sort of replaying a version of my life that didn't exist anymore. A version where things felt lighter. Where I woke up every day with energy, where everything felt possible. You know the feeling. Where you don't even realize you're in a good chapter until it's gone, and now you're sitting there looking at the pieces, trying to remember what it felt like, trying to trace your way back. I sat there thinking, man, what happened to that version of me? Not necessarily the achievements or the results, but the feeling, the spark. And here's the dangerous part. When you sit in that long enough, it starts to feel like something you lost. Like it belongs to the past. It's behind you. And I think that's where most people fall flat. That's where it ends. They turn their best memories into museums, visit them every once in a while, admire them from time to time. But they never think to rebuild them. That night, though, something shifted because I realized that version of me, the one I missed so much, he wasn't living in a better time. He was living in a better state. He moved differently, thought differently, he chose differently. He woke up and attacked the day, didn't wait to feel inspired, he created momentum. He didn't wait for light, he became it. And the truth hit me hard. Nothing I missed was actually gone. I just stopped being that person who created it. See, we romanticize the past like it was magic, like something special was happening to us. The reality is we were the ones making it special. We were the ones showing up differently. We were the ones creating momentum and creating energy, creating life. So if you've been sitting there, like I was, thinking about how things used to be, let me remind you of something. You don't need to go back. You need to reclaim. Because the spark you're chasing, it's not behind you, it's within you. In fact, some might say it is an entire world within you. See, you can wake up tomorrow and decide to move like that person again. You can choose discipline over comfort, action over hesitation, creation over consumption. You can stop waiting for the perfect feeling and start building it, one intentional decision at a time. Because your best moments weren't accidents. They were the result of how you showed up, and that means you can do it again. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about responsibility. It's about understanding that the light you're missing was never something you found, it was something you built. It began internally and was projected out. And look, if you built it once, you can build it again. Stronger even. Wiser. More intentional. So stop daydreaming about who you used to be, or how good things once were, or a feeling that lives in the distant past. And start becoming the person who creates that feeling again. You don't have to chase the past, you just have to step back into the fire and remind yourself exactly who you are. What's up, guys? Eddie here. And before we jump into the next chapter, just a quick note. So, as many of you know, every single video that I've ever put on this channel has been created with the intent of building momentum in your life. If you want something physical to anchor that momentum, We've created the brand AGNS, or Always Grateful, Never Satisfied, for that exact reason. Athletic apparel that embodies the very ideas and concepts I talk about every day. Because you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, we've created a code for this exclusive community, YWW20. You can use that on the website, agns.lifestyle, or right under this video on YouTube. All this stuff is there in the shop. Again, code YWW20 gets you 20% off the entire store. It's a great way to support the channel and also elevate your journey. Let it be a reminder to keep showing up. Appreciate your time. Always grateful, never satisfied. On to the next. What you're not changing, you are choosing. In other words, nothing happening, or quote unquote, the same, is a decision. We just don't think of it that way. And this is an idea that was shared with me under one of my recent YouTube videos by username Night Owl. So, dude, love the name and appreciate the sharing of the quote here. And I think it's incredibly pertinent. You know, I talk a lot about the finitude of life, how time is our most precious commodity because each second that ticks off the clock is the only thing you can't get back, right? You can always reacquire money and these tangible things. Time is once that elapses, it's forever gone. So it makes sense that we ask, well, how do we maximize it? How do we make the most of it? And I wonder this, I want to pose a question. When was the last time you were disappointed with your day? Not because you did something, but because it was underwhelming, because it felt like that sort of cyclical 24 hours. You didn't make any steps towards your goals. You didn't feel like you made progress. It was just more of the mundane. And you thought to yourself, I allowed this. You know, when was the last time you were somewhere you didn't want to be, or around people who didn't let you up, didn't energize you? They're not conducive to your well-being. And you thought, I chose this. A lot of times we just assume we have to do these things because it's life and it's outside of our control. The vast majority of the time, that's simply not the case. And when we take extreme ownership of everything, when we realize that anything happening in the status quo is because we are green-lighting it, we're allowing it to take place, that empowers us. Right? If you think of your life as an arena, it takes you from the stands as an observer. Oh, look, here are things happening to me in my life, and puts you on the floor, on the court, on the stage, however you want to think about it in your brain. It gives you the ability to change outcomes. And that's what we all have. We all have that power. We just have to get past this notion that things are the way they are. It's like, no, if you don't like what's around you, if you're looking to your left and your right and you're disappointed, or it's not enough, or it's not aligned with you, guess whose fault that is? Yours. And guess why that's beautiful? Now you can change it. I want to share a story. This is something I recently came across, a TikTok video. And before I kind of dig into it a little bit, I'm just going to say I actually really like the creator. I think he's a funny dude, entertains his audience, seems like a good guy, all that stuff. But the one thing that he does from time to time that drives me crazy is bitch about how hard things are for millennials. Homes are so expensive. Jobs simply don't pay enough. It's way too difficult to meet people. Boomers had it so much easier. You know, it's like the same song and dance. And he gets thousands and thousands of people to join him in what I think is best described as a community temper tantrum, right? Everyone kind of claps along like baby seals, talking about how hard life is. And it's like, look, two things can be true at once, and often are. Statistically, he is not wrong, okay? It's way harder to own a house now than it was 60 years ago. Both statistical and anecdotal evidence is gonna support this. But I can't help but ask, what are you getting from whining? How is anything better? Anything. Name one thing that improves, right? If anything, you're taking steps backwards because you're creating this narrative in your brain that life is working against you, that everything is an uphill battle. And there's nothing so dangerous as a poor me mindset. And so that got me wondering, how different would my life be if 7 years ago, when I was broke, writing speeches in my boxers, practicing speaking, to the wall, if I spent time every day convincing myself that I was sentenced to a life of misery because I'm not a boomer, right? Imagine if I spent more time whining than building, or looking for reasons that life is stacked against me. Like, everything would just be exponentially different. And as I'm speaking this, I get it. I'm 37. I'm kind of the old man wagging his finger at people on TikTok already, I guess. But I just feel compelled to do it because I've walked through a little bit of fire. And I can tell you that if I allowed that thought pattern to consume me, I would be way worse off than I am now, right? I'm saying this out of love, believe it or not, out of concern. When the currency shifted on these social platforms to victimhood, when the incentive became garnering the most sympathy under one's videos, people started gravitating away from their power in order to be patted on the head and told, it's not their fault. Another quick anecdote. A few years back, I think I've talked about this before, I did a run across Texas with some friends. It was like 500 miles all in all, the route we went. And along the way, as happens when you're running for an extended period of time, started getting these little issues, right? The usual bumps and bruises you imagine during a run like that. And we paused and we were grabbing some water, taking a little breather. And I start talking about my knee and how it's killing me. And my friend Tom, who, one of my best friends, he's a little bit older and sometimes, doesn't shy away from some tough love. He goes, Ed, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what you're gonna get from telling me. He's messing with me a little bit, but there is truth to that, right? Like, what could I have possibly gotten from that exchange other than sympathy? And what's sympathy worth? I think nothing. Right? There was a little moment that ended up being not so little. I've learned to become my own biggest fan. That's not always the easiest thing to do, right? Amidst the trials and tribulations of life. Right? I'm there for myself. I give myself grace, right? But sometimes what I need is tough love with the knee scenario. Same thing with the millennials whining about, life in totality on TikTok, with anyone talking about anything they aren't happy with in their lives. And I think the real value is in this phrase. Do something to change it, or shut up. If you're not content with the status quo, be the change, or stop talking about it. Sympathy has never been a valuable thing in my life, right? Pity from others has never helped me. And even though seeking it may feel good in the moment, it's like this distraction from the introspection that needs to occur, it's still ultimately a mirage. It's a trick, a trap. You don't want it, as pretty as it may seem in the moment. If you don't like something, fix it. Because you can. Start working towards a solution. Because you're powerful enough to do that. Always. And so when you've noticed time go by and there's that reoccurrence of that which is, again, not conducive to your happiness or well-being, when you feel that temptation to seek validation and pity for your experience, please let this be a reminder. Your strength is not in garnering sympathy, it's in fixing it. It's in changing your life. It's in pivoting and adjusting. You are a fixer, a doer. You are a maker of worlds. Not someone who bows their head and concedes to their current reality. And so, I'll end again with a little refresher on my pal Night Owl's quote. What you are not changing, you are choosing. You are choosing it when you're upset. You're choosing it when you vent and complain. You're choosing it when you throw your arms in the air and proclaim it's all out of your hands. It's all a choice. And the good news, the message, the takeaway, the saving grace is you were given the power to script your own narrative and write your own story. Don't waste that. Don't let that slip away. Choose not to accept the now, but rather to create the ideal. Sometimes all we need is a reset, a new beginning, fresh start, a transformed perspective. Do you remember those pictures that used to make their way around from time to time and looked pretty obvious at first glance, right? But if you really examined it, you would see that the picture of the young woman or whatever it was also an older woman, right? Differing based on how you looked at the lines. And depending on who was looking, they might have a proclivity towards seeing one or the other. But when made aware of the picture's duality, they could always see both. Okay, and there's something to this. This idea is something we should lean on, because I'll tell you what, sometimes our natural proclivity is to see the thing that's not helpful. The first thing we see is an excuse or self-pity. The first thing we see is a list of insecurities or doubts. And we have to remember to take a step back and look again, to examine harder. Because it's amazing how differently things evolve when you make a point to see their value. For example, let's say someone has something you want, something you wished was yours. Right? And maybe your default is, you are less than. Your life is not what it should be. But if you step back and looked again, you would see a few things. One, we're all running different races. Right? You're competing against you, not anyone else. Two, think about everything you do have that someone else would give anything for. And three, if you truly do want that thing, how about applauding yourself for having goals, for having desires, for wanting to push the boundaries of life? Now the question is, can you seek to truly understand what that desire is and map out, your path to bring it into existence? This is nothing but an opportunity, right? And how could it be anything else? Life's challenges, life's losses, they are wins. They contain within them the DNA to create change, to progress. But one must be able to move beyond the instinct to label it a problem or a net negative. There are and will always be wins where you choose to see wins. As I've heard Tony Robbins mention on many occasions, this isn't closing your eyes and saying, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, when your garden is full of them. No, it's understanding a simple truth. You'll never leverage value that you don't believe is there. Seeing it is always step one, because it gives you a foundation to stand on as you build. It's picking up the pen and starting that next chapter. It's choosing your worldview. If you lose money, how would one react to, I can't believe it's gone, things will never be the same, my life is over? Versus, okay, obviously I learned how to acquire it in the first place. time to do it again. I'm wiser, I'm more aware, and life is abundant. The person that wakes up thinking the former would probably have a hard time getting out of bed. The person telling herself the second story would be motivated to go make things happen. Her worldview has incentivized her. That's why thoughts become things. How we think directly translates into how we act, and our daily actions become our reality. Look, we've all found ourselves in situations where we struggle to see the good in things, where life knocks us down and the opportunity seems to hide itself. But that's exactly what it's doing, hiding itself. It is there, it's always there. It's there when you've lost something, it's there when you've taken a wrong turn. You get the point. And I'm going to differentiate here between simple and easy, because the idea of stopping and forcing yourself to find the positive, it's simple, but it's not easy. It's oftentimes not the natural thing to do. But if you can ask that of yourself, you will find the wins that others walk right by. You'll be the change you want in yourself, because the outside world will act as the toolbox to make that happen. Remember, we often can't control what the world gives us, but we can always control what we do about it. And that ability is what I believe separates human beings and their level of growth, success, and achievement. Right? Next time you find yourself down and out, sure, do your thing, handle it how you must. But don't forget that golden rule. It's not what you look at, it's what you see. And when you examine the world around you, point to one, however small, value add that will pick you up, get you back on your feet, and move you forward to that more ideal reality. Reality comes down to what we do with what we have. This is an idea I brushed shoulders with again right over there this morning, staring out the window. My mind sort of wandered into this place of, I wish I had a few more pieces. I wish I had a few more things in my arsenal before moving on to this next chapter, right? And I think we've all been there. More tools in the toolbox. Maybe more advice or guidance from people that I look up to. Maybe more research. You can go down that rabbit hole forever. Before sort of remembering that life always gives us some of it, but never all of it. And some of it is always enough. Let's call this the law of broken crayons. Go way back. Grade school. You're sitting on the floor or at the table with the other kids, blank piece of paper in front of you. You reach into that box of crayons, grab your color, and you go. And the crayon's cracked, probably broken in half. Somehow always had other colors intentionally drawn onto the wrapping. But like, who cares, right? I don't ever remember thinking, if only this box was pristine. You know, if a new box is opened right in front of me, that would be amazing, so I could create with a flawless, untarnished instrument. It's like, no, it wasn't even on the radar. We used what we had, and what we had, it was always enough because we made it enough. So flash through time, boom, back to the window this morning. I'm longing for, metaphorically, a fresh box of writing instruments, unopened and in perfect shape. The stuff I'm carrying around is cracked and drawn on and feels no longer pristine. But that's not what life provides us when it calls us to grow. When we're ready to step into something bigger. No, life gives the cracked ones. Maybe you have to grip the little piece that remains tightly with your thumb and your index as though you're threading a needle, but it's usable. Maybe the color you need is missing, but there's a shade close enough to make do. I think you get what I mean. It's a lesson we need more than any other, because it's not that every once in a while we don't get that fresh box of crayons, it's that life rarely ever provides it. Life simply says, here are the fragments, the pieces, the blueprints. They will work. But that's not up to the instrument. It's up to the artists who hold them. And personally, I've been blown away by how many times I've seen the same set of circumstances produce wildly different outcomes depending on who happened to be the artist, depending on who was holding the instruments, right? Back in the day, when I was criticized, I would struggle. Someone would say, for example, you're not good at basketball. That comment would make me think less about myself as an athlete, how I played ball. It would plant this tiny seed of doubt that I would have to navigate my way out of. And then I remember learning about some of the toughest minds, right? Notoriously strong mentalities, the Jordans and the Kobes. You tell them they suck, that doesn't create doubt. That ignites a, well, I'll show you mentality. They shined in those moments. Same instruments, just different interpretation by the artist. And you realize that the world has nothing to do with this. Criticism has nothing to do with this. It's the relationship I have with me. And if I trust myself, if I believe in my growth and my commitment to excellence, the other stuff, it's just detail, and it will always be detail. Starting a new business, right? No one has ever had what they needed out of the gate, ever. I think it was Alex Hermosi who said, starting your own business is like running a marathon out of shape and getting yourself into shape along the way. I thought that was spot on. It's the only way to do it, and is the opportunity perfect? No. Is your body acclimated? No. But life provided those metaphorical running shoes, a road, and a journey, and it turns out that's enough. So what I'm asking of you is that you keep this realization as close to you as you possibly can. It's that you remember having everything is wildly different than having enough. One is an illusion and one is your superpower. And maybe you're looking around at a world that feels cracked and flawed. Maybe it feels like it's missing pieces, requiring that you make trade-offs and improvise. That's not the world working against you. That's life placing a map in front of you. Like Jim Rohn has said, it's not where you're going, it's who you become along the way. The truth will always be, if you want it, the pieces to take that necessary first step are there. Some people wait for perfection. Sure, that perfect box of crayons, a life without curveballs, twists, or turns. Great. But as it turns out, they find themselves waiting a very long time. So why not step into the world now, armed with two things. First, what you have now, and second, the understanding that what you have now is enough. It will multiply, it will evolve with time. Exponential growth is bound to occur down the road. But first, pull up the shades and let light in. Give life a chance to enter the equation. Let's not forget those basic unspoken truths, those things that at one point, way back in the day, were intuitive. Open the box of crayons, turn on the camera, make the call, write the book, try the workout, apply for the position, share your thoughts. Is the moment perfect? No. And maybe even a hell no. But is the moment enough? That's the question you should be asking, and the answer is yes. Always.